a look at the other style of pickers here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically go over to our interface here, and I'm just going to put another one kind of down below. So we'll have to scroll down to it, but that's fine. So we'll grab a picker. Okay, put it anywhere really. So there it is down below. And let's use a different style for this one. So we understand what a list style does now, but what about, say, a stack? So you see, when I choose a stack, it doesn't really change too much in terms of our attributes inspector here, but it does change how we have to input stuff into it, basically. So how we have to input images. So a stack will display images, and we have to tell it what images to display. Then as the user scrolls through using the digital crown, it basically animates the images up from the bottom. So let's put a focus on this one as well. At first, we'll just do an outline. Indicator, we don't really need to worry about indicator too much. So let's take a look at our back-end code and let's connect it through. So let's see here. We'll put it up here with the other outlets. So this one will be my third picker. Okay, so we have an outlet to the picker now. And now we can kind of give it some images to use. So how do we do that? Well, let's take a look down here, and I'll put it down below our first and second picker initialization settings. So let's do something like this. Picker3 item equals WK picker item. Right, so pretty much the same as we've done before. Now we can say picker3 item dot. So what's available to us? Well, content image. We can do accessory image. Let's try content image. And this will take a WK image. And we'll use one of our images we already have loaded here. So image name. And let's go with filled star for this one. Okay. And let's see. Let's do another one with a different image so that we can kind of compare them. So let picker3 item 2, getting kind of complicated here. WK picker item. Okay, picker3 item 2. Not really good in terms of naming, but maybe we can change that later. But we'll say content image equals WK image. Image name, empty star. Okay, let's toss those into an array, and then we'll get our picker to display it. So we'll say let picker3 items, instead of item, will be of type WK picker item. And we will just say something like this. Picker3 item, comma, picker3 item 2. There we go. Okay. And then we can say, what did we call that one again? Picker3, I think. My third picker. My third picker dot set items, and we'll give it picker3 items with an S. Okay, so a little convoluted at this point, but at this point we just want to make sure that it is actually working. We want to see what it looks like as well. So let's wait for the simulator to load up. I saw there was no build problems, which is always a plus. Okay, should pop up in a second here. There we go. So if I scroll down, select this one, right? So now I'm rotating the dial down, up, down, up. It's so pretty neat. Obviously, it didn't really resize it, so it just shows the full size of the image, which may not always be what we want, but in this case, hey, it works. And you can see it animates basically from the bottom up. So it starts at the top, rotate down, and then you rotate back, and it animates it down. So pretty neat. And you can have a whole bunch of images in here, however many you need. Obviously, we only have 2 at this point, but we could do more. But that's the basic behavior of it. Otherwise, it acts essentially the same. So if I link that to an action as well, so bring this over, and we'll say picker3 did change, and we'll make sure it's an action. And we'll see that the fundamental behavior of these pickers doesn't change. It just changes how we display what's inside of them. So if we see, well, as you can see, it's going to show the value based on the index as well. So we can print that out just to do like we did before, print value. And I think you can expect what will happen. But as usual, let's test it out just to kind of see, to make sure, a sanity check, in other words. Okay, it's going to load up here. All right, so we scroll, and we see it's printing out the index. So this is actually item 2, but it's index 1 because it's 0-based index. This is index 0, and behavior is the same. So any kind of logic we have down here, so for example, in our picker did change, we are grabbing the month's value and then we're setting a label text. We could definitely do something similar for this one as well. No problemo. Demonstrate the last style of picker. Basically, I'm just going to change what we have here because this also just displays images. So I'm going to grab it, open up my attributes inspector. I'm going to change the style from stack to sequence. And the only difference really is that this one, when you scroll through using the digital crown, it doesn't animate, which may be desirable for some features. So for example, let me run the simulator while we wait. For example, if you have something that's like an icon or a circle that fills out as the user scrolls through using the crown, well, in that case, you're probably going to want to not animate it. But in my opinion, most of the time, in cases that are not like that, you're probably going to want to animate it so that it does have some appearance of animating. And I'll show you why here. So here, if I scroll, it just immediately changes. Right? So there's no animation at all. And this could be pretty jarring if you're not expecting it. And also, if your images are similar, you might not want to do this because sometimes it won't be a clear distinction from one to the other. But again, it's up to you. If you do have some kind of loading indicator or some scrolling indicator that you want to put in there, then it would definitely make sense to do it this way. Otherwise, it's fine to do animations. And while we're at it, you know what? Let's refactor our code a bit so it's not as clumsy. Let's make it similar to what we have up here, and we just need to pass it in the names of our images. So let's say let images. It's going to look something like this: string. String will equal an array like so. Okay, and this one we will call empty star like so, and this one we will call filled star. Okay, and then we can just write a closure like we did up above. So like picker 3 items, we will do let picker 2 items rather. Let picker 3 items, and it's going to be of type wk picker item equal images.map, and we'll say let picker 3 item equals wk picker item. Right, pretty much exactly like we were doing before, except instead of setting a title and caption, let's go ahead and set the content image. Image equals wk image. Image name, we're taking the string at position 0, and then we'll return it. Picker 3 item. Okay, that means we can get rid of this code here. So I'm just going to erase it. And we already named it picker 3 items, so it's going to just basically take this, and we're going to map through each of those strings, and that should allow us to set the image in a more concise way. Okay, test it out to make sure we didn't break anything. But other than that, that's how you would use the third style of picker. There's no other styles, so these are the 3 that you're going to want to know. Okay, let's make sure it worked. There we go. Yep, worked as intended. And that is great. quick look at how we might want to do some kind of animation using our picker here. So basically what I talked about. So maybe some kind of loading animation, or in my case, I have kind of an arrow sort of circular animation to show off. And basically I split it off into 8 different frames. And depending on where we scroll through, it's going to just select one of those frames. And it's going to be smooth because it kind of scrolls in a sequential order. So first of all, let's bring in those images. So I'm going to go to my main editor here and bring in this side panel. We'll go to our assets.xc assets folder. And I'm going to bring in my animation PNG images. So you can see here, there's 8 images, and it kind of subtly transforms into kind of moving the circles around. So I'm just going to grab these, and I'm just going to drag them in over here into our app. And so those are all of our frames, and I'm just going to make sure that I put each of them to be 2x. Because they're pretty small images, it kind of defaulted to 1x. So not really ideal, but you know, this is just to show off a basic style of animation. So basically we're going to just load whatever frame is relevant. And it's going to be a pretty neat effect, actually. So go to our storyboard here. Let's go to our assistant editor. And we can basically go through it the same way we're going through dates. So our dates, we have a closed range here. We can do the same thing for our frames. So we can say let frames 1 ... Now I know there's 8 frames, and there are different ways of doing this as usual. Everyone will have a different way. But basically we're going to map over these frames, and because I named them to be a certain way, frame 1 through frame 8, that's going to make it easy for us to switch it on the fly. So I'm just going to switch my picker 3 items down here. So previously we were kind of circling through the image of the stars, but instead of that, let's kind of map through our frames. So we'll say frames.map. Okay, we're still going to make it a picker item and picker 3 item content image. So we'll give it an image name here that will be something like this. So frame, and then it takes in the placeholder value. So we're going to loop through, and this will be 0 like so. Okay, and this should allow us to kind of loop through the images based on wherever the picker is. Let's try it out. Load it up, make sure that it loads. Okay, there it goes. Build succeeded. Great. Okay, and there that goes. All right, so we have our image here. It's pretty small, right? It's a pretty small image, but once I turn, we can see that it kind of animates, right? It's not really animating, it's just switching from one frame to the next, but hey, really, that's what an animation is. So go down, go back up, and you can have all kinds of animation here. You just have to kind of create the animation files. And you know, if I had 30 or 50 frames, I would basically do it the exact same way. And this just kind of shows where you would want to use this style. Right now we're showing it as sequence. If I switched it to stack, it's not going to look nearly as good because it's going to want to animate in between each time. Right, so this is the type of situation where you would definitely want to have that. Okay, so let's wait for it to load here. And just to see, it's probably not going to be too pretty. Okay, there it goes. Yeah, so it animates every time. I mean, it looks kind of neat, but probably not exactly the behavior we want. So let's set it back to sequence there. And that's how you can do basically a simple animation scrolling through. Now we could also adjust the size of this picker, but I think we'll leave that for another time.